Alrighty then. Hello. This wasn't quite right. Hello. Gotta raise that octave. So it has been quite a while since I have done a Q&A. I figured now that we hit 45,000, which is amazing and just a little mind-blowing, that I would do another one. And I thought that maybe I could make it into this sort of series where I get cozy, I have some coffee, and I answer your questions. So let's do it. I posted on Instagram for you guys to leave your questions, and I got like 250 questions, including the messages. So, needless to say, I will not be getting to all of those in this video. But if I do want to make this a series, maybe I can do a part 2. So the ones that didn't get answered, I can answer them. Fair enough? I hope so. Oh boy, I'm overwhelmed. And on a side note, I think I'm going to keep this one as more of a getting to know you video, because I got a lot of specific questions about vintage styles. I have kind of a plan to do a vintage basics series, so a lot of these questions I will answer in those, such as specifics of where to get clothes, how to start, how I started, how to find clothes for plus size. If you had asked me some of those questions, I might not get to those, but do not fret. Those are super helpful questions because those let me know what you guys want to see from my channel. I will keep those in mind when I make that little vintage basics series. I almost just had a huge wad of spit come out of my mouth, but I caught it, so. So the most latest question, that's not proper English. The latest question that I got: how do you find the time to work full-time, make YouTube videos, update Instagram, a wonderful relationship with your husband, make incredible cosplays, plus the million of other things I'm sure you do in your life? How do you balance everything? Thank you for all you do. I love your content. Thank you. I don't know. I just kind of do it. Thankfully, as far as the relationship thing, hi Frodo. Hey Papa. Hi. He's so confused. Thankfully, when it comes to the relationship thing, a lot of this stuff I can do while I'm hanging out with Nick, especially cosplay stuff. He'll be playing video games and then I will work on cosplays on the floor or something. It does take a lot of time and sometimes it can be overwhelming, but I think it's really important to have creative outlets such as cosplay or YouTube or anything else that makes you happy. Otherwise, you would go crazy. Just exactly what is your stance on pineapple pizza? Because in the post I gave an example of questions to ask me, and one of them was my stance on pineapple pizza. It is delicious. How do you cut those Audrey Hepburn fake bangs, and where do you get your background music from? Those Audrey Hepburn bangs are from an Etsy shop. I believe it's Baron Unlimited. I will link those down below. They are awesome. My hair is a little bit too red for me to use them right now, so I'm kind of just waiting until my hair fades off or when I use henna again, because then it matches perfectly. And I get my background music from freemusicarchive.org. And yes, I know I still have to make a playlist of all of it. I'm sorry, I am a lazy piece of poop, but it's coming eventually. Don't hate me. Did you have a vintage style wedding? Not really. Kind of. For my wedding, I knew that everyone was kind of expecting me to have a vintage style wedding. The general theme that I was telling people was antique Gatsby tea party in the Shire. So my dress was really long and flowy, which kind of caught some people off guard, which I kind of liked, because a lot of people were expecting me to wear the tea dress and the 50s style things. But I wanted me and my bridesmaid to have those long, flowy, elf-like dresses. And then I made the terrariums, which I actually have one right here, which I hope to do a tutorial on soon. I just have not gotten to doing it. Story of my life. And our anniversary is coming up in a couple weeks, which is crazy. I'm hoping that I can do a video more about my wedding and maybe upload the wedding video itself I have to check with my friend Mia who did it to make sure that she's okay with that. Gosh! What was the reason you went into video production? I'm curious of your thought process. I have been making videos and films pretty much since middle school, and I can remember in 5th grade I made a script for a stop motion animation that I was super proud of, and then I think I realized how much work stop motion was and that a 10-year-old me could not accomplish it. But then middle school I finally got a hold of a video camera, and then it kind of just evolved from there, and I was very active making films and videos in high school, basically forcing all my friends to be in my videos, whether they wanted to or not. Thanks, guys. And then I went to film school, and yeah, so I've been doing it for a very long time, and it is what truly makes me happy. So a couple people have asked what your Hogwarts house is, and I'd like to know that as well. Also, do you have a favorite Harry Potter character, and if so, why? Would you ever consider making another vintage style HB of a video? Maybe for characters like Draco, Fred, George, Weasley, blah, blah, blah. P.S. I love your channel. Thank you. I am Ravenclaw. Hell yeah. As far as my favorite character, probably Luna. And yes, I would love to make another one. Initially when I started making that Harry Potter lookbook, I had a lot more outfits planned than I actually put into the video, and I had a lot more ideas for the outfits. So I was thinking making a part 2 at some point with more of the professors. Now it's just finding the time and money. Hopefully is, I guess, the answer to that. Do people ever make fun of you for being a vintage loving millennial? And if so, is it more old people or more young people? To be honest, I haven't had really any problems with that directly, I guess. I don't know what people say behind my back, but it's not necessarily making fun of. I think some people tease me, which I understand. Anytime you have a style that is not the norm, people are going to take an interest in it, and sometimes that's a good interest and sometimes that's a bad interest. I've never gotten really any snarky comments from the older generation, and sometimes walking past a group of teenagers can be a little scary. But honestly, I've had a lot of teenage girls come up to me and say that they love my style, so that kind of surprises me. The answer, I guess, is I'm sure they do make fun of me, but I don't care. What were you like in high school? Were you in school band or drama club? I do plan to do a style evolution video when we hit 50,000, so that will explain kind of my style for high school. But to answer your question, I wish I was in school band. I wish that I could play an instrument. I do not. I have no musical talent whatsoever, and I do wish that I was in drama club, but I played a lot of sports in high school. So I played field hockey in the fall and then softball in the summer. So winter was kind of my only time to relax, and drama club is a year-round thing, so I wish. Would you ever consider making your own vintage clothing jewelry line? That would be amazing. There are plenty of times where I'm trying to search online for a specific item, or I have an idea for an outfit and then I can't find the pieces to make it. So I do wish that, first of all, that I could make clothing. I'd love to teach myself, but I'm just so bad at sewing and everything I make comes out very janky. Maybe someday. What is your all-time favorite Halloween movie? Mine is The Crow. Sleepy Hollow. Hocus Pocus is up there, but Sleepy Hollow, I just watched it again last night for probably the 20th time. Oh, it's so good. Say what you want about Tim Burton, but damn, his older stuff is genius. Pretty much every frame of that movie is my aesthetic. Hey Rachel, your home decor is stunning. Where do you find all these beautiful vintage things? How do you decorate your home so perfectly? Thank you. To be honest, it's not all me. I don't know if all of you know this, but this house was my grandmother's before she passed away. So a lot of this stuff is hers, or was hers. But as far as actual decor, I antique shop like it's my job, and I go to thrift shops. This is from an antique shop. My beautiful baby. I don't think she's debuted on YouTube yet, so I love her. She is my prized possession. And as far as How do I decorate? I'm a very visual person and a very visual memory. So I can kind of watch a movie or see a photo of something that I like, maybe like a movie set or something like that, and then recreate it with what I have. So, what are your plans for Halloween? Are you dressing up? Hell yeah, I'm dressing up. I'm actually very excited this year because we are having a Halloween party at my house. You can bet I have spent way too much money on Halloween decorations this year, hoping to have a kind of a costume contest, and I'm hoping that it's not a Mean Girls thing where me and Nick dress up like to the nines and then no one else dresses up. So if you're invited to it, me and Nick are going as Leia and Han Solo this year, which I'm very excited for. What sort of things inspired you to start dressing vintage and doing cosplay? Funny enough, those two are kind of linked for me in terms of why I started doing them. And I think it all stems down to me being a filmmaker at heart and always having an affinity for costume design. Being able to dress vintage is kind of my way of being my own costume designer, if that makes sense. So I can do the research, I can kind of have a different look and feel to every outfit and kind of tell a story with my costume. And as far as cosplay, it's the same kind of thing where I can become someone else for the day or however long I'm wearing the costume. Yeah. How did Frodo become a part of your family? Adoption story. My son. So Frodo initially was from Tennessee, and we found him on petfinder.com. The shelter that we got him from, which is Love Handlers, actually saved him from a high kill shelter on the same day that he was going to be put down. Amazingly, they saved him from death row. It's a high possibility that amazing, sweet, genuine dogs like Frodo can be put down. So we are very lucky to have him, and I am very grateful to that shelter for saving him. And so they brought him up on a big old truck, and we drove a couple hours and we got him, and the rest is history. Being confident in vintage clothing in high school. Now, I actually did not dress vintage in high school. I started dressing vintage in college, and I think it can be a little bit tougher in high school because if you were like me, you were kind of concerned what people thought about you. I think that's kind of the nature of high school, and if you don't think that, then go you. You learned a life lesson much earlier than I did. And I think that's important to know that high school literally does not matter. I mean, people are going to be nasty. If they're going to be nasty, they're going to be judgmental. But then you'll get tons of people that know you as the vintage girl or the vintage boy, and they'll be super enthusiastic and wish that they had the confidence to do that. And I know it's not the same thing. We had weeks called Spirit Weeks in high school where each day was a different theme. You know that I went crazy when it came to that. For example, one day we had Safari Day and I dressed like a tourist. Did I get looks? Yeah, I did, but it was hilarious. I thought I was, so that's all that matters. So yeah, I mean, I guess it comes down to realizing that these people don't define you, and if it makes you happy, then you should just do it. I know, easier said than done, but another point is to start off basic or start off slow and then build your way up. So maybe not wearing a full 50s dress the first day. Maybe starting off with a simple blouse and a skirt and gauging people's reactions and if you feel comfortable. That is the most important part. In the end, who cares what people think? It's about you, and if you feel comfortable in your own skin, if it makes you happy. So, advice from Grandpa Rachel. Favorite movie of all time? Probably Pride and Prejudice, the 2000s version. I did love the 1995 version, but the 2005 version, if that's the year it was, I don't even know. It's kind of like a comfort movie to me. I don't know what it is. I think it's just literally everything about it. The subtlety, I think Joe Wright has an amazing way of filming the little details like eye contact or hands, and it just makes it so believable. And the chemistry between Lizzie and Darcy in that movie I think is absolutely amazing. What is your favorite dinosaur and why? Stegosaurus, I think. No, Triceratops. Because, you know, ever since Jurassic Park, I've just had an affinity for them. Because I have never wanted to hug a dinosaur so bad in my life. I'd love to know how you and your husband met. We met through my best friend Tommy, which I'm sure if you've been watching my channel, you know who Tommy is. I was 17 and Nick worked with Tommy at the movie theaters. Tommy basically said, hey, you know, I think I have this friend who I think you would like. You're into the same interests. He's into film too. So I basically was like, hook me up. Except in my weird, awkward 17-year-old way. And I think I stalked him on Facebook for a little while. I liked a couple of his pictures, so you know, hey. And we all went out to Boston together, and I made sure on the way home to, like, make sure that I sat next to him on the train. Because that's just, I'm such a flirt. Any advice for starting a vintage channel? I think just being yourself. As cheesy as that sounds, vintage channel or not, any YouTube channel, being yourself is very important because I think that people can see through any veil that you would put if you're not yourself. Or at least I can. I can kind of tell when people are holding back their true personality when it comes to YouTube, and that kind of makes me sad. I understand why people do it because people can be mean on YouTube, and I think the more you kind of sink back and don't show your true self, the safer you feel when people criticize you. But I think it's important to show people that you can be yourself and don't care about what those weenies think. What is your cat's name? My cat's name is Binks because I've always wanted to name my cat that from Hocus Pocus, but then when we adopted her, she was a girl, so we just kind of say that her name is Emily Binks. To be honest, I think we call her Kitty more than we call her anything else. So Binks is her formal name, Kitty is her everyday name. Are you thinking about having a P.O. box? Yes, definitely. I've looked into it, and I'm sorry for everyone that's saying they want to send me stuff, and I just haven't gotten a P.O. box yet. They are expensive. The ones around me, for a small one, is around $30 a month, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I probably should. I know. I'll look into it more. I promise. It's my pinky promise. Do you believe in ghosts? If so, do you have any ghost stories to tell? I do not believe in ghosts. And to be honest, I kind of wish I did. I'm not saying that if I did have an experience that I wouldn't believe in them. I just have not had any paranormal activities to speak of. So for me, it's a little hard to justify believing in that sort of thing when it's only hearsay, I guess. And the fact that there is not hard evidence. I want to believe in ghosts, but I personally have been to some pretty spoopy places and have never had any experiences. So, what's your favorite historical era? And when I say favorite, I think it is definitely aesthetics and visuals and maybe music. No era is perfect as far as ethics and all that stuff. So I would say my favorite visual era, I think, is the Victorian era. Just their way of decorating and clothing are something that I have been trying to incorporate into my wardrobe a little bit more. And then also the 40s, I think, would be my other one. Mainly because I gravitate more towards the earth tones, if you didn't notice. And I think the 40s has a lot more of that than the 50s did. What is your job? I am a video editor in Boston. What is your favorite aspect of the vintage style as a whole? Side note, it's amazing to have a fellow vintage kindred spirit out there. I think I mentioned this a little bit, but I think my favorite part is the fact that you can tell a story with what you're wearing a little bit more than modern day clothing. And I think that's important. In the end, we are all meat bags. So I think that we have every right to decorate ourselves how we want to. And if we wanted to tell a story, then go for it. What do you do when you're too tired in the mornings to do the vintage style or you are running late? Usually, I just do a very, very basic vintage style, which is just blouse with a skirt. And then maybe pull my hair back into a pony or just leave it down and pin the sides up. I would say I would dress modern, but stupidly I threw away all my modern pants. So It's kind of not an option, even when I want it to be an option. Oops. What's your dog called, and what breed is he or she? Her or his ears are so floofy and cute. Yes, his ears are the floofiest. His name is Frodo, and he is a Australian cattle dog mix. Do you wear vintage clothes to sleep as well, like vintage nightgowns and such? Also, do you like the show Outlander? I do not wear vintage clothes to sleep. I know some people do, but I personally am not that dedicated to the vintage style. A lot of times when I'm home, I prize comfort over style. So yeah, usually I just wear a t-shirt and pajama pants to bed. And also, I need to watch Outlander. I need to. I just haven't had the energy or money to watch it. I have a feeling you may love Disney, but I'm not entirely sure. Who is your favorite underrated Disney character? Hell yeah, I do. My favorite underrated Disney character would probably be Jane from Tarzan. Do you like candy corn? And I know this is a hot topic for some people. For instance, Nick absolutely detests it. I do, to a point. I can have about 5 or 6 individual candy corns before I start feeling sick. So, yes, I think. Do you plan on setting up a meetup in the future? I would love to, if it didn't make me so nervous. And not necessarily for safety or whatever reasons. I'm just nervous that no one would come. I'm kind of afraid that no one would come and I'd just be standing there all alone being like, come and meet me. I think I'm kind of just waiting until that becomes a more prevalent request, I guess. Do you have any anxiety issues and how do you deal with them? I definitely get very anxious with certain things, especially lately, what I'm doing with my life and feeling kind of trapped in my job. I think that is a big source of anxiety for me lately, and how I deal with it, I think I go back and forth. Sometimes I'm really good with it and I'm like, you know what? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I just gotta live life and, you know, something will come along and I just gotta keep doing what I'm doing and having creative outlets. And then sometimes I fall into the, like, oh shit, I'm already 25. If I don't choose what I want to do now, I'm never going to be able to do it, blah, 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 blah. I think having distractions definitely helps, at least for me. YouTube, I think, is kind of a coping mechanism for me. I think finding something to take your mind off of your problems. That might be horrible advice. And also, I think taking walks outside or just being in nature definitely helps me, and giving hugs to my puppy and my husband helps. How often do you wear modern versus vintage clothing? I don't wear true vintage all that often, especially when going to work, because I don't trust myself not to spill stuff on myself or rip things. So a lot of times when I go to work, I try to wear my modern clothes but make them look vintage. So I'm going to try to get through these last ones really quick because my neighbor literally sounds like he's mowing through a forest. Are you going to vintage dress your babies if you want kids? I don't think so. First of all, that sounds like a lot of work on top of having a child. So I'm already scared enough as it is to, when we do decide to have kids, the actual concept of just having a child and how much work that's going to be. And I feel like on top of that, trying to dress them vintage would be way more work than I think I'm cut out for. And also knowing how much kids spill on themselves and get their clothes dirty. That being said, I mean, for special events, I will try to dress them cute. Because it's fun. Wow, that's loud! Are you interested in history in general, specifically the eras in which you dress, or do you just like the vintage style alone? I love history, and I think I can credit that to my dad being a history buff all growing up, and I don't think I appreciated it until my adult life. There is just something about the stories that history can tell in just an object or something like that, which fascinates me, and I love thinking about human history and how far we've come and how far we still have yet to go, and pretty much any era I am interested in. If you could visit anywhere in the world tomorrow, where would you go? Probably the French countryside or Ireland or Hobbiton in New Zealand. It's on my bucket list. What is your natural hair color? I am a dirty blonde, which kind of explains sometimes why I look bald when my roots come in. What is your happy place? My happy place is cuddling on my couch with my little family, my puppy, my cat, and my husband, watching The Office or whatever we're binge watching at that current time. And aside from that, I would say museums or any historic place, I think, where it almost seems untouched since the day that it was used. Oh my god, so many. So there are so many, but I'm pretty sure I'm already almost at an hour. So I will definitely be doing a part 2 because there are so many more that I'm just scrolling up now that are really, really, really good and I really want to answer. But for the sake of not making this an hour long, I'm going to stop there. Wow, that's good timing. So that is it for this Q&A. Like I said, I will do a part 2 if I did not get to your question. I'm sure that I will get to it next time. I love you all, whether you're new or old to this channel. Sorry if I'm shouting. We got Mr. Lawnmower Man literally right over my shoulder. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!